troubles on the shelf. Don't you worry.
Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being patient with my break. This is me trying to do a little bit more of the actual nitty-gritty study of YouTube videos as opposed to just throwing it up and being like, I like this, maybe someone will like this too. And if you're new here, hi, welcome to the nonsense. My name's Caitlin Gracia. Here we do a lot of resets, routines, vlog stuff, which is funny because today is not a vlog. This is not the video that I was gonna put up next. It's kind of a prime week for this topic. This topic is actually borrowed from Darling DESI'S video where she has a list of the main habits categories for your life. Those categories are rest, gratitude, play, nourishment, nature, and laughter. If you were new here, you might not know, but I just moved into this apartment last month. I guess it's been a month now. We are still getting things together. There's a box behind me, there's a box in there, there's boxes there. I'm still buried. One of the number one things that I needed for myself when I moved into this place was I want to say routine, but it's not a routine. They're just individual habits oriented to the separate rooms in this space. Habits that I had in my head for this space, for actually moving out before I even knew I was moving into this space. When I went to list them out for this video, I realized the list kind of matched with Darling DESI'S categories, which is a video I had already watched. And so I borrowed her list. In terms of moving into this space too, I only wanted to master my big habits first. Then I would deal with all my little bad ones, the itsy bitsy ones that just kind of aren't the best. But I wanted to get my big ones set immediately. The first category is rest. And like I said, I am terrible at it. Terrible. Part of that comes from not understanding my sleep, like my own personal circadian rhythm. I wrote about this a little bit in my physical health blog post. I'll link it down below from October. But if I can find the chart, I'll stick it up here because it's horrifying. American statistics, so the statistics for American sleep, nobody gets enough sleep after like the age of 2 or 3. And honestly, yes, same, but that was horrifying. And it made me feel better about my constant wanting to sleep. On the internet especially, we always hear like, oh, you want to sleep a lot, you must be depressed. And that's just not always the case. I wanted to get enough sleep, which meant at least 8 hours a night. Every night, not once a week, every single night. And the other thing was, around the same time that I did that blog post, I was learning about night owlness. I had heard the term before, of course, but I never realized night owl and morning lark are actual circadian rhythms. They're not just colloquial, and the research is wide and ranged, and I see a very blatant problem with it. But we will leave that for another video. Statistics range anywhere from like 26% of the population to just over 50 being night owls. It was also apparently, I learned the other night from a friend, ADHD people have a different circadian rhythm. I wonder which one they are, if they're a separate category altogether. So for me, my 2 big rest habits were getting enough sleep and honoring the fact that I am a night owl. I can schedule my day so that I am getting asleep, not going to sleep. I am asleep by 2 a.m. and then I sleep until 10. And that's 8 hours. Actually sticking to that habit of being in bed no later than 1 a.m. I'm usually there first because I want to read. Rest my brain and my eyes from all the screens. My screens are not allowed in there, and other than last night, I didn't break that rule. Category 2, gratitude. This is something I struggle with. Wow. As someone who is naturally exceedingly self-conscious and self-aware and like a really bad judgmental kind of way. Writing down what I am grateful for usually causes a negative reverb on me. It's like, oh, I'm grateful for my kitty cat, but there's world hunger and a war in Ukraine. I don't want to set myself up to do that. If you know that that is something that you do, don't put yourself in that position. With that in mind, I had to come up with other ways to do gratitude. And I think there's kind of two. You have intentionality and you have being present. And they are not the same thing. Here's my example that says they're not the same thing. Washing dishes. For me, washing dishes is intentional for the purpose of just kind of zoning into this. I'm not being present. My brain has floated away, but I can still feel the water and feel the pan, and this is what I'm doing, and it's calming. I don't really like it, and that's why my brain floats away, but it's calming, and it creates this nice little space for me. To be present is the opposite. You can't let your brain float away. It's like in yoga. If you're trying to breathe while you're in some weird yoga stance and you float away, you're not gonna breathe properly and you might fall over. You have to stay here and actually feel your breath coming in and out of your body. You know, if I'm cooking, especially if I'm following a new recipe, I'm going to be more observant and present in the actual actions of cooking my meal. And both of these things for me, maybe not for you, but for me, allow me to feel what I'm grateful for without feeling like I need to be better, have better things to be grateful for. If gratitude journaling or traditional habits, traditional practices don't work for you, find what does. Category 3, play. This is a weird one for most adults. In terms of looking at big habits to set your new life up well. For me, play was about being social. Earlier this year, I came home after a pretty traumatic international job. And I knew as soon as I came home, I knew that I had to be social. I had to be around people. None of this crawling under a rock stuff, because I just never would get better. I had to be very intentional when I moved into this house. I live alone. I see no one unless I leave my house. Just the other day, I texted a girlfriend I hadn't seen in weeks, and I was like, hey, you want to go do something? I don't really have money, but let's go do something. And we did, and it was great. And then I was texting her today just for something random. Your play doesn't have to be in person. It can be virtual, either through text or Zoom or whatever our life has turned into in these past couple of years. If your play is to sit down in your room and just paint or read and hang out with fictional characters, then do that. That's what your play is. You need to find the thing that makes you feel like a child, that makes you feel good and free. That's what our soul and, quite frankly, our brains need. Category 4, nourishment. Obviously, this category also talks about like what we're actually feeding our bodies and trying to be healthy and do some activity, go run, go to the gym, whatever it is you do. I'm not talking about that. We all know that's a thing. And quite frankly, they seem like more miniature habits. The nourishment as a whole for your entire body, essence, spirits, all the things, is the big one. I know that I feel my best when I'm either with somebody or I'm doing what I need in the moment. So whether that's listening to music, being with somebody else to do something, reading, watching Good Witch or Grey's Anatomy, whatever it is that makes you feel whole, safe, sound, content, you're nourishing yourself. Even sleep is nourishment. The biggest nourishment I think I had coming into this place is how I designed it. Because this used to be my brother's apartment, I got to paint my walls red. That was a disaster. If you've seen those vlogs, my nightmare. I have a tapestry up behind my reading chair. I have these awesome kitchen lights. All of these things were, first of all, designed to put my mind at ease, but also to discourage getting out of my big habits. That room is reading and sleeping. That is it. I do nothing else in there. There is not even a chair in there. I do nothing but sleep and read. And honestly, I got so much sass for being that controlling about moving into this place. I've had a lot of freedom in this place, a lot more than most people might in their new place. I could have done dark academia in there without painting the walls. It's possible. Whether it's using vintage furniture or hanging a tapestry or using a blue cooking pan because it's your favorite color, the things that you put into your house should nourish your being there. Category 5, nature. By now, most of us have heard about how good nature is for us. And anybody who has a plant in their house, you already know. Having nature come into your house is a great way to get it if you can't get outside or if you don't get outside more than you would like. So if you can bring a plant home, do it. That's great. I have pansies outside that desperately need to be replanted. You saw me plant them in pumpkins in that video. I go out there all the time. They're on my stories all the time because I'm like, look at them go. They have rotting pumpkins underneath them, but they're having at it. They're just killing it. And it brings me joy. While bringing nature into your house might be a nice substitute, it's can't be the only source of nature you have. And I'm talking to my future self with this. Go outside. Go take a walk. Go borrow a dog from your parents if you really need to, but go walk. Go do something. Go do yoga outside. It's a little cold for that right now. It's Thanksgiving week. But actually, it's supposed to get up to like the 60s this week. So yeah, go outside and do yoga outside. Category 6, laughter. Probably the hardest of these categories of habits to even accomplish. Other than somehow micromanaging your other habits to bring you laughter and smiles, because there's also science with that, especially when you're living alone. My go-to, honestly, is listening to stand-up comedy bits on YouTube, like whether it's a story or a TikTok or an actual like Netflix special that's been cut onto YouTube or whatever it is. I try to go looking for it, especially on those days where I'm having kind of an off day, because even a smile, when you're upset and you smile, like legitimately actually smile, your mood goes way up. It's like, oh, that was weird. I just got happier. Thankfully, I'm a goofball. I'm constantly getting a kick out of myself. So laughter finds its way into my life, but I know that's not the case for everyone. And honestly, my best advice is go find a stand-up comedian. Either go hang out with somebody who's gonna make you laugh, or read a book that's gonna make you laugh, or get on YouTube and find a stand-up comedian. I'll list my favorites down below. These people are hilarious. Go watch. Go find somebody who shares your humor. I have to say, it was very encouraging for me after weeks of obsessing and micromanaging the details of moving in here and getting opinions and sass about it. It was really encouraging to find the habits I had already established for myself or already knew that I was going to implement once I was in here, fall into this lineup of categories, as opposed to just kind of being obsessive for no reason. I had justification for wanting just so. And I think that's the lesson here. You know you better than anybody else. What you need and what you are realistically going to accomplish. I recently handed out the list of these categories to a friend, and we were just talking about what her habits were versus mine. And now I am very interested in what y'all's are, because the things that are the most important to change in the big picture is so different for everybody. It's really cool. And on that note, before my inner anthropologist goes completely spiraling out, I'm gonna sign off of this. Thank you so much for being here, and happy Thanksgiving if you're in the States, and if not, happy November. December is coming, but don't rush it. Bye.
We've had trouble.